Hey everybody, welcome to Workforce Gaming. I'm Brad, here with Doug.
Hey.
Doug recently made his way through Risk of Rain 2,
Yes.
which is a game I'm not interested in.
That's fine. And unlike the Hades one, I'm not going to try and pitch you this game. This is a game you would not like, and many people would not, but it's amazing.
I do have to say I'm curious though, because I did play Risk of Rain, and that was like 2D roguelike, and this one's like 3D, right? Didn't they like completely switched it up, right?
This is the best sequel that's ever been made, yes.
So that didn't answer my question.
Yes, it's in 3D. It is, yes. And the reason I said that was because this is the type of sequel you haven't seen since like going from Super Nintendo to PlayStation, where the second game's in 3D. It completely changes how you think about it. But yeah, it's basically Risk of Rain 2 is essentially just it is, to the bare bones, a 3D version of Risk of Rain.
Okay, so that I feel like, again, takes some explaining, because
yeah,
I feel like that's like going like, oh yeah, Super Mario World is just a 2D Super Mario 64. They're the same game otherwise. And it's like, that's 100% different than the other thing.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Okay, so what Risk of Rain 2 is, it's a roguelike game, which means that you basically go on runs, and on a run, you get random power-ups, and sometimes you get to the end, sometimes you die horribly in some random accident.
Is it all random?
No. So, okay, so what it is, there's... the levels themselves are not randomized. I think there's like certain doorways that might open, but there's, I'd say, like five or six levels, and they'll randomize which ones you get. Like on your way to the boss, like let's say you'll go through 3 levels, and those levels might be randomized between themselves. But after a while, you get to kind of understand the level itself. Like the level geometry is the same is like the same once you get there. The thing that is randomized though is where the chests are placed, and then what you get out of the chest. So like your power ups are going to be randomized. But you have a few main characters, and I would say the basic weaponry of your characters doesn't change. So unlike something like there's other roguelites, like the way I'm shooting is now completely different by the end of the run. My character shoots basically the same. It's a lot of like the buffs on top that like kind of change differently, like how I'm playing. But like the way I shoot is going to be the same. So like I'm not going to suddenly get a machine gun and like, oh shit, I had a pistol to start with and now a machine gun that's plays totally different. So it's just like you choose your character, your basic weaponry is the same. But then how that weaponry is essentially modified, I'd say, like that single shot or that single shotgun blast. It's still a shotgun blast at the end of the game, but that shotgun blast now poisons them and sets them on fire and explodes them and all this other cool stuff. Yeah.
So when you say 5 different levels, is it like how big are these levels?
So
if you're hunting, because you're hunting for like the chest essentially is the goal, right? In each level, if I remember the first one right, it's like once you get to the chest, you get your new power up, you boom into the next area, right?
No, so what it is, what you're no, you're totally wrong.
Just shut up, you're wrong.
So it's actually really cool. I think Risk of Rain does a lot of cool, clever stuff. So what the goal of each level is just to find the teleporter. So once you go to the teleporter, you activate the teleporter. There's a boss battle. You beat the boss. You go on to the next level. But you can spend as much time as you want in the level. And sometimes, I don't know, there's probably like 10 power-ups. So you can explore the entire level, pick up power-ups. So your character actually, the longer you stay in the level, the more powerful your character becomes. But the thing that's really neat is that you don't have a timer for how long you can stay in a level. But what happens is that the difficulty is just gradually going up and up and up and up. So like you'll see like a bar that's kind of like ticking forward. So it'll be like easy, medium, hard, insane, inferno, and then like it's like in a really crazy ones. So it's kind of cool. So it's basically like up to you to, if you want to power up your character, you're taking the risk of eventually, by the time you get to the final boss, it being very difficult, but you also have the weaponry now because you've spent this time collecting all those weapons and stuff to actually beat them. So it's kind of cool. So I feel like you have a lot more control. Well, that's not true. But it feels like it's a little bit more guided because you also have a lot of options too. Like I'd say, like when you pick up a chest, or sometimes a chest is like, if the thing that's really fun, and I know that this is something I know you hate and a lot of people hate, it explains nothing. So you don't know what a power up does until you pick it up, and then you learn. It's like, okay, the teddy bear, I know what that does when I pick it up. So when I'm given an option between a teddy bear, a nail, and a piece of steak, I know I actually want the teddy bear in this one. And the only way you know that is because you've played the game a few times and you understand what the different ones do.
Do you have to like take one out to replace it? So like, do you like get screwed and go like, ooh, I've never seen the steak before, I'm gonna lose my whatever to replace it with a steak, and then you get it and you're like, well, just screwed this run.
They're all buffs. Everything you pick up is a buff. You don't need to trade anything. So
Okay,
like by
cool.
the end of the game, you have like 30 buffs, and it's like
Nice. Okay.
super fun. I think the thing that's really fun about the game is that the game like really escalates. So by the end, like when you're in the first level, you're just like doing like plink plink plink, and like you're fighting like maybe one guy at once, and you're like, oh god, even this one guy's about to kill me. Like the game when I first bought it, I actually had the exact same how'd you say this, like journey I had with Risk of Rain 1, where you play Risk of Rain 1, you die, like you play Risk of Rain, you die immediately. You're like, what the fuck? That was the first level. I died, and like the little timer, the thing said easy. I was like, oh shit. Like but the thing is, like when you start, you just don't know anything. So like you don't know, like when you're picking up a buff, like you're trying to read what that is, like how the hell does that thing help me in this situation? It doesn't make sense. Who do I need to attack? What does this mean? So like it's the thing where you're leveling up, you're learning how the game works, you're learning how it is. So like I can pretty consistently get to the final boss now. But it's cool because like once you sort of see how these different power cycles stack on top of each other, and how like if you're given an option between three, you can kind of figure out, it's like, okay, the way my character is now is like really defense heavy, but I need some attack, so I'll get an attack one. Or like, hey, I'm doing a ton of damage, and like I could just do a little bit more damage, a little bit more sort of thing. So when I shoot them, like their face explodes, and then they send off like electric bolts to everybody around them, and then while that's also going on, everybody else is also exploding. So it's just fun at the end, just holding down the trigger, just seeing explosions all over the place by the end. It's so cool.
Is it like pacing wise? Is it? I'm picturing like Serious Sam Painkiller, like super fast action game. Is that?
No, it's kind of weird. I almost call it like more Diablo-like. Like there's definitely a skill base to it for sure. But I turned up the auto, like your character. You have some characters that kind of, there's a little bit of an auto aim to it.
Yeah.
So a lot more it's more dodging than I would say like fight. Well, I guess that is kind of like Serious Sam. As long as you're doing damage, you're doing okay. It's like a lot of like just like running backwards and going, oh shit.
That's literally Serious Sam.
yeah. I'll say they're in the same bucket, but I'd say even Serious Sam's like a little bit more skill based, like you need to aim really well. And this one you don't really need to aim really well. You just need to understand like how your buffs are like working and playing off each other, kind of like a Diablo where like, you know, you have your character slots. I don't like Diablo. I think Diablo's boring. I think it has more skill than Diablo for sure. It has more skill than that. Like it's a skill-based game.
If anybody was going to pick something out of this, they would pick out Diablo is boring. That's what they would pick out of this. Like, who cares about a straight thing? Doug thinks Diablo is boring.
Well, Diablo's just Diablo is too much that. It's too much that, like, completely dependent on that. So like there's not a lot of skill to Diablo, at least in the campaign. But this one, it felt like if you don't pay attention, you're gonna get nuked like pretty quickly.
So you said it escalates really well. Yeah. Are the bosses ordered? Because you kept referring to a final boss. So like the levels are random, but like you always go boss 1, boss 2, boss 3, boss 4.
No, well, kind of. It's kind of like when you do boss 1, you have a chance of getting like one of 3 bosses. When you do boss 2, you have a chance of like one of 3 bosses, boss 4 sort of thing. But it's kind of fun, like once you get good at the game, where there's these like crazy modifiers. Like there's these things where the thing that's kind of fun. It's like Risk of Rain. Like there's a lot of I think it's not a coincidence that the game actually has the like Risk in the title, because there's a lot of things like you can do, like this is going to make this way harder for a split second if I do this one thing, but I know the reward's going to be super sweet. So there's a lot of cool stuff, like the cool modifiers and stuff that's like, all right, man, if you want to take this chance and do this, you know, okay. But it's cool rewards. I think the one thing that the game does that's like really, really cool is tons of weird secrets, which I think is one of the things I really do like about these sort of roguelike games, is because of that randomization. So there's a 1 in 100 chance you might find a mysterious key that goes to a mysterious portal that you only see one time ever. And then you go to that mysterious portal and, oh my God, that happens, sort of thing. Or, oh my God, you found a secret level and that kind of thing. Or you found a secret item and that kind of thing. So I
kind of found it, because it just kind of randomly popped up and you didn't actually really do anything to find it, and it's not like you actually explored for it. You just randomly got lucky that it popped up there.
Sure, but it's the same. But the thing that's kind of interesting is because you played the game so many times. Like I think I have like 20 hours into it. I beat it a few times. But I think the thing that's kind of unique about it is like it's not only does every run feel different because of that like randomization aspect, but every once in a while you'll just see something like completely new. Like you'll see a new enemy. Like I played this game for 20 hours going through these levels I'm very well versed in, and then it's like, oh, something new happened.
That's kind of cool.
And that's the thing I really enjoyed about it. It's like there's something new. And it was really cool because on my last run through I did multiplayer for the first time. And the thing that's kind of fun is the art style is like really kind of, I'm not gonna say PS1, it's really low poly. I would say it's not the prettiest looking game. Because like, oh, when you get in the final world and you're shooting a bunch of stuff, it lets it go crazy.
Yeah.
But when you have like 3 people playing the game and like they don't modify it where like, okay, we're just gonna have the same amount. It's like we just gonna add 3 times as many power ups, so it just gets like absolutely bonkers. And there's just things like exploding and stuff, and it's cool because it's like that's kind of what I was saying, like it escalates. Like I kept finding things new because like playing on multiplayer was totally different than I played before because I was playing with a guy who knew some cool tricks and some things that I had never done before.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's a very, very slick game. I think there's anything else that's like really cool that I liked about it. It's just fun. It's just like it's a good podcast game for sure as well.
Yeah.
It's like Rocket League or whatever else. Yeah, just like put some tunes on and just,
play, give it a good half hour, an hour, and just chill.
You can have runs up to like an hour and a half, I will say. Like and the one thing I will say, the one thing that I think this is a little bit more brutal when it comes to these types of games is that there was a lot of times when I died and I didn't know it happened, and that felt bad. And that's like, it sucks, especially if you're like an hour and a half into a thing, and then and the thing I think like with Hades, I always felt like I knew I was about to die, but in this one there's not like a ton of indicators, and just because of the randomness, and there can be like 1,000 enemies at once. They're not 1,000, it's like 20. But like you could just get a bad thing where there's like, let's say 3 heavy guys in that, and they just all happen to shoot their fireballs at the same time, and you had 1,000 health and now you have negative 200 health, and like you're like, okay, how was I supposed to know that's gonna happen, sort of thing.
And that's the reason I hate these games.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think you'd like this one. I wouldn't push this one on you, but I don't know, there's people out there who might find it interesting.
I mean, everybody has their thing, and like it's one of those things where like I struggle with going back and replaying the same thing after an hour and a half. Like I can go back and like Trials, like I'll do that same 30 seconds of a stupid course 150,000 times because it's 30 seconds. I will not do this game. I played Risk of Rain twice.
I actually thought you played more than that, but I could see that for sure.
I think I died once in like 10 minutes, and then I died once in like 40 minutes, and realized nothing carried over, and I'm just back. Well, I'm out.
Yeah, I think the thing that I like though, and I can totally understand that is but during that period is like I feel like I was like learning so much about the game and like figuring it out, and to me it's like a puzzle game. It's like, what are the mechanics?
Which I also don't like.
Sure. But it's just that the thing with these games that they're so mysterious, and it's fun like learning the mystery so I don't die immediately, and like, okay, now I kind of understand these mechanics work, and then you learn how to exploit those mechanics, and that's the thing that makes those games fun. But again, like, and I can also understand when somebody's like, aren't you just doing the same thing over and over again? It's like, yeah, but every time you're learning something new, and then you can apply that in the next run.
But this time I learned what the steak did.
Yeah, no, exactly. But now it's like, I know the steak's really good, and you know that one time I didn't have the steak and I chose something else, but I probably should have chose the steak.
Had I chose the steak and I knew it,
yeah,
I would have won, and damn it, I got to start over.
It's a very cool game, and I think one of the things I said earlier, it's like probably one of the best sequels I've played, is that just because it was so neat just seeing a game that went from 2D to 3D. Like, when's the last time you saw that? Like PS1, PS2 era?
It would have been like Super Nintendo to N64, PlayStation 2. It's those generational leaps, and I don't think really since the 360 PS3 we've really seen those big generational leaps in terms of gameplay style. It's more just, hey, this is prettier. I think you might get that more when VR becomes more and more of a thing.
Sure.
I think that'll be the next time you really are able to see those kind of jumps. But 2D to 3D seems to, I mean, it's such a huge step that you're not going to get something that does it like that.
Yeah, and it's cool, like seeing, and it's cool because I really enjoyed the first game, seeing how those characters translate to 3D, and it's a unique experience. Like if you just haven't, because I think that's such an old way of like looking at games, of that, like, you know, let's take these mechanics from this 2D game and apply them in a 3D way, and just kind of doing that. It was very cool. And then seeing the monsters I enjoyed from the first game, and like the ones that were a pain in the ass in the 2D version aren't necessarily a pain in the ass in this version, but because they have similar mechanics. But it's interesting because there's characters in the 2D one, but because you now put them in a 3D place, they actually are much more annoying, or vice versa. So it's cool, like seeing which characters are like, oh, these are the rough. This is no problem. To like, oh, why is this is now my new enemy, while they were just like nothing in the previous ones.
Yeah. How much carryover is there from the first one? Like, is it like I don't honestly know anything about lore or anything like that. Is it just like similar characters, similar world design and such, or is it like there's lore and story and stuff?
Lore and story, kind of. I would say the lore on this one is like, I think Risk of Rain does a bad job of it because it's a lot of codex stuff. So like you kill an enemy and like you get their codex and it's like 3 pages. Like, it's cool that you wrote 3 pages, but like I don't want to read. It's kind of like what Doom 2016, the same issue they had, where it's like you have some cool stuff in here, but it's like I don't want to read 3 pages in your
every
cool shooter
minutes.
game. Yeah. But I will say like what they did is like the world is like it's very much the same characters, it's the same enemies, it's the same like your kind of core group of people, but they added like 3 additional ones on there. So it's just kind of neat revisiting these characters and relearning them. So like how you knew them in a 2D context is now different when you play them in a 3D context. So, I mean, I understand like if you haven't played the first one, so you may not get that with like playing the second one. But it was just cool because it's just something I hadn't experienced before. Cause like I like my turret guy, but the way a turret guy works in a 2D game is totally different than a turret guy works in a 3D game. It's just kind of fun relearning, like seeing that character in a new context and kind of relate. And that's what I'm saying. It's like such a fun sequel is because a lot of I would say like maybe 80% of the bestiary and characters are from the first game. So like you see those characters and now they're in a new context and all this other stuff. To me, like what I thought sequels used to be kind of thing. And they just don't see that often anymore.
Interesting. Yeah. All right. Well, we are Workforce Gaming. You can follow us on Twitter at Workforce Gaming. Subscribe to us wherever you're listening. And we will see you later.
Bye.